12 Gauge Investigative. Let's jump in.
All right, all right, all right. Happy Mother's Day to all you mothers out there. I hope you guys are having an awesome Sunday. My name is 12 Gauge, and welcome to my channel, 12 Gauge Investigative. Today I have some videos that I've been looking at, and I've been looking um, for this video that has a camera and stuff like that. But I found one that Jeff and I had talked about, and some other great footage that I have done in my life. So we're just going to take a trip back in time. If that's okay with you guys. Hello, Aquarius. Happy Mother's Day to you. The first one, we're going to be talking about the Elantra. Not how you think we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it how it's seen under camera lights and stuff like that. So let's see how this goes. I don't want to do that one. I'll do this one. Hold on.
Already attached to it. And I didn't really,
this to somebody's body going into
tutor history and go. I can
Right
really
here.
get on here and give something that other people already haven't given, but as you can see, we're able to break down things in a different way. Kim says, yeah, I saw some pictures on 4chan that I wish I could unsee. I'm shocked that, honestly, I'm shocked that there hasn't been any leaked pictures on 4chan of any of this.
right. Yeah, I've never been on there, but yeah, you would think if that's a place you can pretty much see just about anything you could imagine, you think it. Yeah,
Like as you can see up there in the right hand corner, Jeff has done a kind of picture in picture showing the vehicle coming up King Road, turning around and heading down Queen Road. Coming up Queen Road and turning around, heading back down Queen Road. So if you look up here in the picture in picture, that's what we're discussing right now.
this is a little animation that I just roughed in. I was just trying to do something quick, but I should return to this and try and
Yeah.
we could do some visual demonstrations of like maybe some things we're thinking about. One of the things I was thinking about doing is taking the sound where you hear the car taking off at a high rate of speed at 421,
Yeah.
and then try and match a visual of like a car like this to the path that we think that we're hearing with our ears, and just see if it makes sense. Because like when I listen to the car take off, I pretty much can imagine, I imagine the car was parked like right here. Can you see my cursor? Is it spinning around in a circle?
No.
Wait, let me see if I go. Okay, so
Okay, I see it.
so
now.
like, I imagine like the car parked like where this tree is, that this whole side of the house has no windows. So it seems like it would be smart to park around here where nobody's going to look out the window and see your car. So if you could park like right here, and then the sounds that I listen to are the car, I imagine, taking off, losing control on this turn a little bit, and possibly, maybe sliding out, maybe, was in danger of hitting this curb over here. And then this is where they were measuring tire tracks. So I don't know if the tire tracks that they were measuring would have
Well, he's talking about right here in front of Queen Road Apartments. The 405 pass, as we've seen, came up Queen Road, came over here by 52, backed up, came back down, and then around. And we're going to talk about all this in another video that I have. But this is pretty interesting because we talked about this stuff a lot when it was first coming out. And I hope it doesn't bore you because we do have a lot of visual stuff. And I know I don't really expect a lot of people in here due to it being Mother's Day, but hopefully they'll watch it on replay.
Been from coming down this way and almost losing control and skidding, or if they lost a little control, it's like, oh my gosh, that was close. I do not want to be wrecking. I just did an awful thing. And then they slammed on the gas to head out of here, and that's what caused the skid marks. But
Hey, let me back you up there for a minute, Jeff.
Uh-huh.
Last night I did a stream. I did a live on this little area right here that you're talking about. That's why I'm glad you brought up the image of it. I was theorizing last night about the DoorDash driver arriving at 4. In the PCA, it says approximately 4 a.m. Okay,
Mhm.
so this car is doing a 405 pass. So that means that the DoorDash driver would have arrived in this area in between 358 and probably 401. So if this car was doing a 405 pass, that would have meant that the DoorDash driver could have possibly still.
Did I just say 358 and 401? And the DoorDash driver arrived at 359? Wow. Go 12 gauge.
Been in front of the 1122 house when this white Elantra or whatever car it is makes this first pass. But he turns around and comes back down in front of Queen and back through here. How would this Elantra, let's just say Elantra, how would the Elantra and the DoorDash driver had room enough to not pass each other with the tight time frame? You get
Well,
what
that's the thing. Yeah, a lot of people talk about the DoorDash driver coming back to this back parking lot here. I don't see that happening at all. The house is here. It's got a huge front driveway. I see the DoorDash driver coming in, making this turn, and going right here, and never going back here. So what I imagine, this car we're calling an Elantra, it goes past here at 405, probably sees the DoorDash driver either maybe just pulling in, or maybe he's just gotten out of the car to deliver the food. He does a U-turn and comes back this way, maybe wants to get a second look at it. Who knows, does another U-turn, and then on the 407 pass, he's driving much faster than all the other 4 passes. So maybe there's something about what he saw with the DoorDash driver that said, yes, this is the time that I'm going in. Like if we look at this other video I've got that shows all 5.
Well, I believe also, as Jeff is saying, at 407, that was the last pass. That was the last pass. He went around and parked over there by the house. I don't believe that he would have passed the DoorDash driver at that point unless the DoorDash driver was turning around in the driveway or came around the house up King Road, backed up toward the dumpster, did a 3-point turn, and then headed on out. I mean, that's the only way that I really see that happening. I used to think that they possibly... No, I didn't, Aquarius. If you want to post that, that'd be cool. If I don't see... I used to see them passing on Queen Road, but not so much anymore. I see it a little different now. I like this part right here, what he's about to say.
5. Oh,
well,
wait,
the reason I was saying that is because that street is full of other cars parked alongside of it. So it's a very narrow turn, to turn your car around. But I just saw what you did. You turned it around in the driveway of 1122. You didn't turn on King Road do a 3-point turn, and then back in front of the Queen, or back heading toward the other King Road. I see what
Right.
you're saying. But I mean, my whole thing is they had to see each other, either leaving or coming. And there was speculation, and I also said this last night. There was speculation that the DoorDash driver lived 1,200 yards from Koberger's apartment, and that the DoorDash driver's wife was creeped out by Koberger. That the DoorDash driver was the one that gave the information on the white Elantra and Koberger. I don't know how much truth that is. I don't know if it's been debunked.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw the article. There was like an article where the headline was like, "I lived 1,200 feet from Koberger" or something.
Yes,
That
yeah.
was the
And that his wife was so creeped out.
Wait, it wasn't the DoorDash driver though? It was the rideshare driver, wasn't it? The guy who gave a ride to Kaylee and Maddie.
I was under the impression there was the DoorDash driver.
No, Jeff, you are so right. It was the rideshare driver. I was mistaken. I misspoke. It wasn't the DoorDash driver. It was the rideshare driver. You're so right. So I made a mistake at that point.
I don't know. I could be wrong.
Hmm.
Kim says, how would the Elantra driver know that the DoorDash driver wasn't a partier who would stay for a few minutes with people awake? Very good point.
Yeah. Now, if he drove when he drove by, so the times he drove by here, there's 3:30, 3:39, 3:56. Now, if the DoorDash driver got there well, no, it's probably because it wouldn't have said approximately 4 if it's before 4. So if he's on back of Linda Lane
so if the DoorDash driver dropped the food off at 3:59, that means the closest one that he would have possibly maybe bumped into Koberger, according to these cameras, is 3:56. So Koberger would have already passed the house at 3:56, unless he. Man, I wish I could like incorporate this camera as I was speaking. It would be so awesome. Like 3:56, how long did he wait? Is that the one where he does the 3-point turn and then goes back out? Because if that is the one that he did the 3-point turn, did it take him about 2 minutes or a minute and a half to do that? Did he wait a little bit? Did he see the DoorDash driver's lights? Did he kind of wait, and then did he follow the DoorDash driver out of Queen Road? I mean, all this is just questions I'm having right now. And you in chat, I mean, feel free to chime in because my brain is just racing right now with this. I like the fact that all these timestamps are up here, and Jeff was kind enough to do this video on his page. So if you've never checked out Jeff H's page, Jeff H the Guitarist, and he has tons of Linda Lane videos and cameras, views, and things like that. So y'all go check it out. Great stuff in there. And probably Jeff will be doing lives here and there and everywhere. Jeff the rock star. So like I said, 3:56:59. So that's almost 3:57. He's already passed the house and he's back there by 52. Okay? Apartment 52. The DoorDash driver dropped off the food at 3:59. So he's already either turning onto Queen Road right now, about ready to drop off the food. But what does Koberger do? That's what I'm wondering. Does he round the house on that turn, or does he do the 3-point turn and then back down? If y'all know in the chat, if y'all can follow this, because I don't want to jump out and have to go upload that video just to see what he does. So if y'all know what he does on the 3:56 pass, if he backs up, does the 3-point back up and then back down, then he would have passed the DoorDash driver. I don't believe that they would have passed each other like on those narrow streets, but maybe that is, when we see that still picture, when they dropped that document with the first Elantra picture that we saw, recently, people were saying that there was another car coming this way, and the Elantra was going this way. And they caught that picture like this. Could this car right here, if that was the car, could that have been the DoorDash driver passing Koberger on the way? It's really interesting to me. I need to go check that out. I like that, I would have said the 356-59 camera right here would have been the closest, because at 405, I do believe that the DoorDash driver would have been gone by then. Definitely by 407. This would have been his last pass. So let's continue on.
In front of this Linda Lane camera at 405 and a half, maybe when he drove by, maybe he saw the person, car headlights are still on. The person's got out of the car and is carrying food to the door. Maybe it's just visually clear that this person is delivering food and not somebody who's is staying there. Like maybe leaving their headlights on while the car, leave the car running maybe.
Right.
That happens a lot. I've seen a lot of stories where people getting their cars stolen that are DoorDash
PKC.
or Uber Eats delivers. They leave their car on, they deliver the food, they turn around, their cars, somebody's jumped in their car and taken off.
You left a comment on this video too, PKC. You said, I think that is why the white car turned around. He probably saw the DoorDash car in the parking lot, lights on, and knew it wasn't the time. Yeah, so that makes sense. If this was the 356-59, because he was ahead of the DoorDash driver. I just wonder if he followed the DoorDash driver out, or he waited for the DoorDash driver to get a little bit of distance. Because think about it, if he followed the DoorDash driver out, the DoorDash driver would have had the ability to see who was in the car driving. Does that not make sense? I know I'm speculating a lot this morning, but let me know what you think.
You just solved it. You just solved the crime. You just solved the damn crime.
But I think there was another YouTuber that was analyzing sounds, and they thought they were perceiving the sound of maybe like the lock sound of the DoorDash driver, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I really some of those sounds, it's really just tough to tell from a distance.
Yeah.
Because there's some sounds that that they were saying was the car door lock sound, or the little horn beep. But then when I listen to it, it sounds a lot like my microwave when I push the buttons. And I know the Linda Lane camera sits right on top of the laundry room. And I thought, well, that could sound like the buttons you press on a washer or dryer too. But then it doesn't make sense, because there's like one or two beeps. And if it's truly come from the laundry room, wouldn't you then you would hear a washing machine or a dryer? You'd hear the noises that follow. So I mean, it's probably more likely that it actually was like somebody locking their vehicle.
Yeah, Paula says as dark as it is in the front, I bet the DD left the lights on. They are probably correct on both of that. I mean, wouldn't that have been some shit though if all the college kids around there, they would have stole the DD drivers? Or because he did mention, I mean, I have seen somewhere where the reason he didn't park in the driveway was because kids had thrown stuff at his car.
I hadn't heard that.
I watch a lot of YouTube. I read a lot of things. I need to start saving this stuff so when I present it, I can look it up as receipts instead of just hearsay.
What was that comedian said? Oh, look here, we got ourselves a reader. It's like it was a real redneck town. It's like, oh.
But seriously, I did hear that. I did hear that early on somewhere where they were talking about the DoorDash driver not parking in the driveway because previously he had driven up there. Kids were throwing beer cans at his car, beer bottles. He was scared they were going to rob him. So he parked him of the 1122.
Okay, I like what Jeff did there. Let me see if I can rewind this a little bit. He did put like a timer. Damn. Hold on. Hold on.
person, car headlights are still on. The person's got out of the car and is carrying food to the door. It was a reader. It's like it was a real redneck town. It's like, oh.
But seriously, I did hear that. I did hear that early on somewhere where they were talking about the DoorDash driver not parking in the driveway because previously he had driven up there. Kids were throwing beer cans at his car, beer bottles. You know, he was scared they were going to run.
Okay. 357, the one that we're questioning, he was there for 11.58 seconds. So if the DoorDash driver dropped off the food at 3:59, it would have been plenty of time for him to cross back by on the way back down. He would have seen the DoorDash driver dropping that food off. Yeah, I like that comment too, Paula. This is you live, okay? I had heard that with the private driver that he usually parked where he could leave quick if needed. So that kind of solved the mystery right there. 3:57:08, and he was there for 11.58 seconds. Definitely enough time to be in this little spot long enough to turn around and come back down Queen Road and either be behind the DoorDash driver or pass them somehow, some way. I believe that, because as we've seen on that road, on Queen Road, there's cars on both sides. There's cars on this side of Queen, like right parallel to the 1122 home. And then once you go up the hill to the Queen Road apartment, they're on the opposite side. So he would have been coming down Queen Road kind of slow, because there is a slope there. And once you hit that dumpster area, it is a kind of drop off. So if the DoorDash driver was turning around or had already turned around, he could have followed the DoorDash driver out. And wouldn't that have been something if the DoorDash driver saw the white Elantra behind him or actually caught it on camera? Hence, if there is camera footage from the DoorDash driver and the car behind him, and he's able to tell whether there's a front license plate or not, cooked. Whoa. That's all speculation, but it sounds badass to me right now. What do y'all think, chat? Because that is, the time frame right here, 3:57:08. And the DoorDash driver dropped off Xana's food according to the receipt and in the document at 3:59. So that is plenty of time for the DoorDash driver to be there, turning around. So Brian or whoever the white Elantra driver is caught him on the way down. He either waited a little bit for the driver to have some distance, but I believe that they were both caught on Queen Road. And I've always thought that because there's just too little of time gap there for them not to have been caught together, either coming or going. And I've always thought that. And I'm glad that Jeff did a timer on this because that tells a lot.
Problem. So he parked in front of the 1122. Didn't we hear a horn honking, or was that the police car?
Yeah, well, I think it was
Isn't there two horns that honk?
I think it was Mob Crew. I think I was watching a video that he did where he was analyzing the horn sounds. He was estimating, because he was estimating like there was a first horn sound and then a second. And what his I think speculation was that the DoorDash driver may have delivered the food to the back door, and that would figure out. That would time-wise, you hear them lock the door. It would take that X amount of time to get to the back door and then get back to the car, and then you'd hear another sound of the car being unlocked. Which now that you said that, if you heard stories of the DoorDash driver having issues with people messing with his vehicle, because I was thinking, was like, why are you going to lock your car if you're just getting out to put some food down and get back in?
There was a story. There was a story out where he supposedly they talked to him, and that's one of the things that he said. He said that he didn't pull up in the driveway because people would be throwing stuff at his vehicle, and he didn't want to be vandalized, this, that, and the other. And
did you ever see this one? This was
I was gonna watch that today actually because I saw the ear and that kind of got my attention.
This was where you can hear. I've got the sound on now. You can hear what I believe are the same car horn honks on the Linda Lane footage and on the Banfield camera, and you can see that the 25422, 25422. But actually, if you really measure real closely, the two timestamps are only off by less than a second. Here's with the sound.
Yeah, that little beeping sound sounds like my truck. You ever heard a Toyota beeping when you open it?
Yeah, but you can hear like the cadence is in the tone is exactly the same. It's
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, the only way that I can really hear it with headphones on, but I've heard it before, and it's true.
yeah.
What about the church bells that they always talk about? Have you actually heard those?
Yeah, I mean, the thing that I noticed is that at the top of the hour, the church bell is 2 minutes, like almost exactly 2 minutes off. And at the bottom of the hour, like say at 2:30, 3:30, it rings again, but it's 1 minute and 39 seconds off. So at say 3:30, it's not going to ring, but at 3:31:39, you'll hear it.
Okay.
So yeah, I was looking into that, and I actually called a guy named Mark that works in security at the University of Idaho, and he told me that he would go out at lunch and he'd listen to see if the clock, the University of Idaho clock, was still 2 minutes off, and then call me back, but he just never did. But he seemed very interested in it at the time. He's like, "Oh yeah, I'll check this out for you," and I guess but maybe I don't know, maybe it's worth another phone call. But I mean, it's been quite a while now. It's possible they've fixed them since then. But it seemed to be consistent. So 2 minutes off at the top of the hour and 1:39 off at the bottom of the hour.
Good morning, Rondi.
See, it's like I remember stuff like this, but like important stuff in my life, I can't remember.
I remember also, I think I was watching Dagos maybe, and they were talking about the camera, the Linda Lane camera being 2 minutes off or 2 minutes fast. And that's something else being.
Well, but see, this proves that it's synchronized with the body cam time. So if the Linda Lane camera is 2 minutes off, just by coincidence, the police body cam is off by 2 minutes as well. I seem to lean towards the fact that they're both the same and they're not of the same entity, that they're
PKC says if I were doing DoorDash, I would park as close to the door as I could, partly for security, since I would have to get out of the car, partly because of being lazy. Yeah, I mean, I'm with you on that. I mean, some of the DoorDash drivers, they just come up and throw your food and leave, Well, let me speed this up a little bit because I want to get to the part where Jeff's talking about this camera. This is so freaking interesting. And this is going to dispel a lot of rumors that a lot of people are talking right now about the green car and that, and this and that and the other. I couldn't find the other video, but I found this one. And this one's awesome.
1,000 subscribers. He's now over 100,000, right?
I don't know.
So
That was really good, Jeff.
thank you. What about the now the only other video I really did that where I actually like scripted it out a little bit was the difference mode.
Yeah, I've seen that one.
You saw that one? Yeah, this one I think is interesting because to me, because it's something that this friend of mine, Matt, taught me. He taught me about difference mode. A difference mode is found in Photoshop and it's also found in Adobe Premiere. But we used to use this for line. You can take video image for lining up video clips. I know what we do. We would edit our videos with a low resolution watermarked video clip that we haven't paid for yet, right? From one of these stock footage places. So you edit with that, and then the spot gets approved, and then you got to go and buy the shots and put the actual images in. And then so you want to make sure that you position them in exactly the same spot. So when you put them over top of each other, use difference mode. And if they're exactly over top of each other perfectly, they cancel each other out. You end up with a black screen. That's how you know it's like lined up perfectly. So it's basically the same idea with this. So, but this little video, just like what is the first minute of this, explains what difference mode is. So in Adobe Premiere Pro, there's a cool thing called blend mode. You can find this also in Photoshop and also After Effects. The blend mode I'm going to show you here is called difference mode. Here's how it works. If you take a still picture of a scene and then combine it with the moving picture of the scene, and you put the still picture set to difference mode, when you overlay them, anything that's moving or different between the two images is clearly visible, as you can see. Here's another example using a parking garage. You can see that when combined in difference mode, the only thing you see is the moving cars. I thought it would be interesting to apply this blend mode to the Linda Lane footage, making it a little easier to see the moment anything moves in the frame. Here we go. Yeah, so that was the idea, and then like I think it works pretty well in some situations. Like there's a cat that's seen. Let me see if I think I marked.
Yeah,
I started a project of marking like all the interesting stuff and didn't quite finish that, but yeah, here we go. It's a cat. You can see the cat at the upper right.
Yeah.
I thought I heard some people saying they thought that might be Ian and Harsh's cat, but I don't know if that's true.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and what's cool too, so that's 322 that the cat runs off. Let me see if my memory is correct. I think the what's the garbage dumpster? What time was this? Let's see. No, that's 314. I'm thinking of something else, I guess.
Yeah. We're getting way out there. Let's kind of reel it back.
Oh yeah, we were talking about a car, weren't we?
Yeah. Yeah, let's kind of reel it back.
Oh, but later, check this out. This is a guitar solo that I did.
No.
Me getting my 70s rock.
No. What are you doing?
Question, then I'll promise I'll get back on topic. Did you ever watch that show Rockford Files?
Yes.
Okay. See, there's coming up here. There's a little part that I know, without knowing I was doing it, I ripped off from Rockford Files. Here it comes up right here.
No. Jeff, you're killing me.
I know that's Rockford Files. It's got to be. It's just. All right. What we were talking about the car.
So, I guess we'll start up another time with the Elantra, because we're going on 3 hours right now, and I'm kind of getting tired. So, What do you?
Oh wait, you want to end? You want to end real quick? This is the thing I forgot I pulled up. The
Okay.
sound of the Elantra, the sound of the car that goes by 5 times.
Yes, go ahead and do that.
This one's real short, but this is a good one too to put up here because people can play it back for themselves later and just see if they feel they hear the same car engine sound. Because if it's the same car engine sound, then good chance it's the same car. Okay, I have to share this one. Where is it?
You know what's crazy?
It's called.
We were laughing about that dog barking, but when I heard that dog barking on that camera that they showed on Dateline, that little part, it sounded just like that dog, just like him. And I about freaked. I was like, whoa, that was that dog barking right there. Tell me it doesn't sound the same.
Let me see if my memory is correct. I think what's the garbage dumpster? What time was this? Let's see. No, that's 3:14. Yeah. Oh, but later. It's a cat.
What do you?
Oh wait, you want to end? You want to end real quick? This is the thing I forgot I pulled up. The
Okay.
sound of the Elantra, the sound of the car that goes by 5 times.
Yes, go ahead and do that.
This one's real short, but this is a good one too to put up here because people can play it back for themselves later and just see
Okay,
if they
Jeff, I
feel
was
they
freaking
hear
out, bro.
the same car engine sound. Because if it's the same car engine sound, then good chance it's the same car. Okay, I have to share this one.
That sounded just like that dog.
It's called.
Just
You know
like
what? That's
that
gonna
dog.
be my spirit dog right there.
You're gonna put that on loop and go to sleep to the dog barking.
Anytime somebody says something, once we get people in chat a lot more, they don't say something.
Speak up, son. Speak up. All right, I'm gonna mute my mic so you can hear it really well. I mean, what's your initial thought? I mean, when I hear it, even right now, I haven't heard it in a while. It sounds like the same engine to me.
Yes, it does, and I've heard other people say that it was a manual transmission. Can't remember by chance what creator I heard that off of. But I don't think it's
Illuminati. I think is where I first heard that going
I
around.
don't think it's a manual transmission. I think it's an automatic, and it's revving up as it's going up the hill a little bit.
Yeah.
Because there is an incline right there, a little incline, and that's where it revs up. That's where you hear most of the engine sound.
Right.
It does sound like the same one. What do y'all think, guys? In the chat, are y'all still here?
We're here.
Hello?
Yeah, White Lion says sounds the same.
Okay, sounds the same to her.
We're here.
Let's do it one more time, just so maybe mute your mic too, just so that for playback you get as clean a sound as possible. Okay, I'll mute mine too.
Oh, Texas, I knew you were gonna say that.
And so even the backing up engine seems to, sound. Now, I mean, I know it's not completely conclusive, and then but if it was 5 different cars, I would expect to hear at least one of them sounding a little different, just some kind of difference. And this is interesting too. This is when I looked through all the footage from 1 a.m. to 4:20. There's only basically 7. Wait, is that right?
I mean, that's interesting you said about the gravel and the wheels because I noticed that too the other day, Jeff, when I made that short little video when it showed those passes on the Dateline app thing. I noticed that that car had a squealing sound to it. When it turned or it was about to brake, it was a squealing sound kind of as it was turning. So I don't know for certain if it has a malfunction, but I remember hearing that squealing sound whenever it would make a turn. So I don't know if the axle, the brakes, or maybe the solenoid or whatever are going out, but it does have a squealing sound to that car when it makes a turn. Hey Firefly, thank you for being here.
Yeah, you said 7 the other day.
Yeah, there was. What did I'm reading, trying to make sense of what I wrote here. The only other cars seen in motion include these 2 cars that sound different than. Yeah, so I mean, from 1 a.m. to 4:20, actually a better way to have said this was that there's 7 vehicles in motion seen. 5 of them are what is believed to be the Elantra that you just saw. Those 5 passes. The other two, there's one that comes from the left side of the screen and goes to the right to go around the building, in the same fashion when he did the U-turn. And then the only other car that is seen in motion comes around the building the same way that these cars do, but then it parks right at the end of that fence. It's front end parks to the fence.
Yeah, but that car has like a squealing sound.
There's one other thing here that I'd put on the end of this. It's. Oh wait! Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot I did this. These are the other 2 vehicles that are seen. I actually put the video of them in this video. These are the other 2 that are seen. Different sounding engines too, I think.
I don't know, Texas, but I did notice that squealing.
This is one that just parked. And then, I'm sorry, this is the last part of this video. This is just a trunk sound comparison. So for quite a while now, I've been convinced that at 4:21:01 a.m., that's the sound of a car trunk closing. And just for grins, that when I was over at my friend's house, he happens to have a white 2016 Elantra. That's the car you see there. I asked him, I said, would you mind if he didn't? He's like, what are you talking about? Will you close my trunk? Yeah, just humor me. Just close the trunk. I'm going to stand way back here. I'm just curious. And I had no idea if it was going to sound at all similar. Again, this isn't very scientific either, but it sounds the same, right? I mean, it's the same, got the same tonal quality. Like you hit a drum that's really big, it's going to go boom, and you get a small drum and it's going to go boom. It's much higher. It sounds like a drip drop boom, boom, like the little clown in the little boom.
You should have got the tape measure out, measured the appropriate distance.
Oh, for where I was standing to the. Yeah. Well, see, I mean, the real way to do it is to have recorded it here. Let me turn my camera on, even though I think I look horrible tonight. Is to take this Reolink camera and record the trunk sound from 100 yards away with the actual camera. Although I'm not positive that I got the exact right one. This was a 520A. I emailed Kane Francetic, the landlord of 1330. He emailed me back and said that he thought his camera there was a 522A. This was a 520. So I mean, they're very similar. They look like exactly the same. And
Kim's correct. It's a lot more scientific than other channels present. Most of them don't really do scientific experimentation. Did you ever watch that show, Mythbusters?
I think yeah.
And
That's
here's
show
the
if you've never
Elantra
watched
trunk
it.
being slammed.
They do
Here's the
You want to hear
Elantra-
that? Is the last thing? Oh, it's
Hold on.
camera without obstruction. Then had he parked alongside where those other cars were parked, there would have been a lot more obstruction. You wouldn't have heard it as clearly. But he was up above the tree line, so that would have been heard clearer, like you said, than anywhere else. Go ahead and play that, Jeff, if you want.
Yeah, go ahead. You want to switch? You want to switch over to the map view?
Okay.
Yeah. So the Linda Lane camera is right here. I think it's. Let's see. There's the laundry room, and then the stairs. So it's right about here. It's not. I wouldn't say it's in the middle of this little roof line here, but it's probably a little bit off to the right. So Linda Lane camera with the microphone is right there, and it's if you kind of go straight shot, nothing to really block the sound too much. And then I say if he's parked right here, somebody parked right there at the back of the house. If they were to slam a trunk, it would be, pretty straight shot to that microphone.
Exactly.
From here to there. And remember, this is an overhang of, it's a parking carport. So it's overhang, but it's kind of open air to this over here.
Plus, there was, anytime you've seen other photographs or any kind of videos, there are vehicles back here, but hardly any of them park along this side of the tree line. So if he parked right here along this tree line, I know you probably can't see my mouse pointer, but where that blue car is,
right here,
parked right there, like you're saying, that would have been a straight shot, unobstructed, because this car obviously drives back there without any problems. If there was a lot of vehicles back there, it would have had a longer wait to get through all the vehicles to get back out to the other street.
Let me ask you, chat, since we have this map up a little bit overhead, how many of you believe he parked way over here? Do you see this mouse where I'm at toward the right here? That he parked over here this far back? And how many of you believe that he parked closer to the house, like through this little tree line right here? That he would have parked right here alongside the tree line or further back here where he wasn't seen? Tell me what you think. Because once he comes around at 407, that's when he parks. And he either parks close to the house where there's that little entrance in the tree line, or he parks way back here and walks. And also, that could also put a little time between him and the house. So at 417, we hear the thud, we hear the dog barking, and he's going out the back slider, but he doesn't really, we really don't see him on camera until like 421. So that's almost like 4 minutes, 3 minutes and some change. So tell me what you think he was doing in that time period that it took that much time. Because a minute is quite a bit of time. We've done, experiments and stuff like that, but what do you think he was doing? From 417 to being seen on the 1112 camera speeding off at 421. What do you think he was doing in those 3 minutes and a half to 4 minutes? What do you think he was doing? I saw somebody say earlier, and I like this, okay? I like this. Somebody said earlier that Xana had a furry chair. And we heard that he sat down long enough after he killed both of them to put an imprint in that chair, since that chair was furry. And there was also that furry rug. Could he have left any DNA? And also, somebody was talking about potentially that was the time that he was stripping off his clothes, the bloody clothes, and putting them either in a trash bag, either in a satchel, whatever he brought in with him. Give me your thoughts, chat. What do you think happened from the time he sat in that furry chair, supposedly, to the time that he left? Where would he have got rid of the bloody instrument, his clothing, the gloves, all the stuff that he obviously had on? He walked out with clean clothes, supposedly. Let's say. I think there was only 2 minute difference. Could be the timestamps are not in sync. I still have a lot of clocks that are set by hand and end up 1 to 5 minutes difference. Okay. Rondi says she feels he was parked by the tree line. Aquarius said he parked closer to the house on a tree line. Okay. I can dig that. Texas says I would think he would have parked this close to without being noticeable. And also, you remember hearing that Enan Harsh's girlfriend had a white Elantra? I'm not trying to start speculation here, but something just hit me. What if Enan Harsh's girlfriend got that white Elantra wrapped because they knew that they were looking for a white Elantra, and she got it wrapped green? That green car parks in the back of Queen Road Apartments next to that Chrysler 300. It's white. I've seen it in pictures. So it's been at that Queen Road Apartments. But don't you think people would have noticed that there was a white Elantra and then now it's green? And they wouldn't have reported that to the police? I don't believe that there was a lime green Elantra. I don't. That, the camera misconstrued it to be lime green. I saw it in the videos. I've seen it in people's pages, but I don't believe that.
Well, you can see
that it was wrapped after the murders.
My initial thought when I made this animation was I thought, let's see, here he comes through. You can see where I was speculating where he parked.
Yeah.
To the left of that blue car, but I think he stayed on the street right here so that he's just a straight shot out of the neighborhood. Unless here's the only other thought I thought. If he parked, say, where the blue truck is there possibility that because he didn't know the inside of the house very well, if he parked his vehicle there and left the headlights on, shining through the window, although that seems to like it would just light up everything too much. But if he had done something like that, he could go in through the sliding glass door. All he's got to do is he knows where he's trying to get to is 1 floor up. So he doesn't need to know the inside of the house except the first set of stairs that are going up. That's where I go. And then you find the stairs right after the kitchen. You go up the stairs. Now the next thing you're looking for is the bedroom with the headlights coming through the window. And you're in the place that you were stalking from outside. If that's what happened, I assumed, my assumption has been that all it would have taken was for him to, at some point, be back there, see Maddie through the window, and then he's chosen somebody to ruminate about and somebody that or he's decided to do this awful deed, or I don't know. I guess all I'm saying is that he took notice through the window.
Okay, and I'm going to stop that video and I'm going to start the next one. That one was very interesting regarding the camera. I still haven't found the one I'm looking for. Hopefully I end up finding it. It may not even have the Idaho name attached to it. So maybe that's why I can't find it. This one has different people on the panel. It has Jeff on there and it has Sergeant Friday on there. He behaves himself, so it's not going to be one of those types of lives for a little bit. For a little bit, anyways, he behaves. We're talking about the root of the killer, okay? And right here, Jeff starts it off. He says, "How do we know the Elantra was identified by the Ridge Road camera? We thought it was reported that they made a determination from 1320 Linda Lane camera to shoot down to Taylor Avenue." Okay, we've since found out that there has been an identification on a Ridge Road camera. And not only did they identify it also by 1320, both of these cameras identified supposedly that white Elantra. So let's listen to what this video has to say. And you think that's where the conspiracy comes from? Is the fact that for whatever reason, these two cars were seen at the same time at the same night.
Let's say that that's what happened, right? Let's say that car in Linda Lane that comes up Queen Road and passes the crime scene, which there's no way anybody can argue that the police would not be interested in that vehicle. That vehicle comes across, does it not drive past the murder scene? Yes. Doesn't it go turn around and go back and drive out of there? Yes. They're claiming that's Kohlberger in the PCA. What I'm telling you is that vehicle was identified by the FBI as the 11 to 13. They're wrong in the PCA. Okay, so PKC says, why is she waiting for more video if it's already identified on Ridge Road? So the car was identified on Ridge Road very early, and people had just stopped talking about it for whatever reason. But this is what we're talking about, and this conversation is a very good one, I thought. I mean, it went very good, even though the more tired we became, the more silly it became, and the more, I don't know. When Jeff came up on panel, we really got really silly, but it is what it is. We had a good time. And this is what Anna's going to show. When she says that they found a 14 to 16 on Ridge Road going the wrong way at the wrong time, is further confirmation that a 14 to 16 Elantra did not drive by 1120 Queen Road. Okay, so I pulled up the map. Y'all see the map? Yeah. We have a new person in here, PKC. We'll answer your question here in a minute, the best we can. Why is she waiting for more video if it's already identified on Ridge Road? We'll answer that here in a second if we can. An alibi that comes so late in the process to me seems like a manufactured alibi. You show me. Can I respond to that? Listen. She said this in the very beginning when they asked for an alibi. Her alibi is going to be highly dependent upon the expert testimony. That was the first reply she ever made in the demand for an alibi. She's not changed her tune at all. She's still making that argument. This is PKC's first live. That is awesome to hear that. And now she is a mod. So this was PKC's first live. Glad you're still with us, PKC. Okay, let's look at this map. Okay, so the car was going the wrong way on Ridge Road. The wrong way. At the wrong time, yeah. Okay, so that, just based on wording, the wrong way would be going west. Away from the house. No, it'd be going, the right way would be going away from the house. Why would that be the right way if you're not involved? Okay, is this a one-way street? I don't know. I think it is. I think it's a one-way street. So, but Ridge Road, you got to take Walenta Drive. That turns into Ridge Road. Yes, there's Walenta right here. Mm-hmm. So Walenta is right here. This is fucked up the way they do all these roads here. This is Walenta, then it's Ridge Road. Excuse the language. Well, Ridge Road is two ways. It's heading east and west. Walenta turns into Ridge Road as it turns and curves, and then it goes Ridge Road, and then it turns back into Walenta. I was getting frustrated because this is the first time that I actually looked at this map. This is a very early video. And then it goes back to Walenta. I mean, it just fucked. But that's just my personal opinion. Yeah, it does. It's got the two roads and one straight strip of road, right? Yeah. One continuous path of road has two names. They call it a different name. Yeah. So if you're going the wrong way at the wrong time, so basically it would say, at this time,
this individual's car was caught right here. There's a camera right here on one of these houses.
Right, and they caught
Captured.
14.
I think it captured him coming up right here, turning off of Walinta, going up on Ridge Road. I think it's one of these houses that caught the car. If I remember
Wow.
correctly.
12
So if
gauge.
he's going the wrong way during the commission of the crime, what the fuck was he doing?
12 gauge cusses a lot, so if you're offended easily by curse words, I'm sorry. Everything expressed here in this video is our opinion, and we are covered by fair use, even though this is my video. Did you hear what I just said? He was going by this house right here, and guess which house that is? 12 gauge was on fire back then.
He already over here during the time?
No, let's
Before-
remember. Wait, remember, Brian Koberger the police have already shown us that he's done this drive 12 times previous, and one of those times while not connected to the network. Okay, so we know that he has this habit of driving late at night. Now you can call that stalking to plan a mass murder, and in fact, we don't know if you're right or wrong, but you could call it that, or you could call it a guy with insomnia, right?
Or you could call it a
Well,
killer.
look at this way. I mean, we're strictly just going on our own intellect right now. So, what are the fucking odds that, excuse my language, but what are the odds of you choosing to drive around 12 times in this particular area? What did he know that was over here? Like, if I'm
Over
going
5
to,
months. This is over a 5-month period of time. From
right.
June
So,
to
if I'm
November.
driving around in this
Yeah.
town, there has to be something there that I can identify as a physical reason for me to even be there in the first place. Is it the university? Is the
Well-
fact that, there's a lot of parties going on? It's a good area to look at stuff. You're going to see some pretty women. You know what I'm saying? There has to be something for me to take this route. Why wouldn't I be down here south of this and going down Caristoga Drive or down
can I
here?
just say- Can I just say, let me, I'm a car guy. I'm a car guy and I drive a lot. And
Go
I
ahead.
drive down the same areas different times, but many times I'll go in the same area many times in a row. And then I'll go in a different area. But here's the point. I always go in the same different areas. Do you follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you something could happen while I'm cruising around at night, and they could say it was that white it was a white car, and I had a white Corvette, right? You could have mistaken it for me. Didn't mean it was me.
Right.
But my point is that driving
course
is not an act of criminal. It's not wrong. It's not unusual.
Of
It
course.
is what people do. Right?
But my whole point is at the time of a crime, of a quadruple murder, you happen to have the same type car. You're driving around. You've been caught there 12 other times on your CAS data. If I've lived in other towns, so I usually drive around those towns when I go and visit because it's something that reminds me of something else. Like I used to live here. I used to bang this girl that lived in this house.
Wow.
I used to go to
maybe
this
he's buying drugs over
Whataburger.
there. We know he was a heroin addict, but here's the point I'm trying to say is that
This was before I had a girlfriend, so baby, you're watching this, go light on me later, okay?
he did it. We can't know why he did it until we do. It's an unknown quantity. We just know that he did. Right?
Right.
Now the police say that proves that he stalked them. And that's one possible, but that's a potential thing that could be true, right? There's 100 other reasons why he could have done it that could be equally true. Just not being able to sleep at night, and he just drove in these areas.
Right.
And that could be equally true as to the idea that he was stalking to set up a quadruple homicide.
Yes.
I-
What
I
we're
just
doing is
don't-
asking. What we're doing is asking logical questions
Mhm.
rather than filling in the pieces we don't have. That's the difference between speculating and a hypothesis. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So
I'm enjoying what we're doing. Just as a report from an analyst for the FBI dated 3/21/23 showed the analyst heavily reliant on a video of a car heading in the wrong direction at the wrong time on Ridge Road. Translate this face. I don't know what you mean by translate.
Yeah.
Happened to only have one license plate. Maybe the skid marks in front of the house will help investigators.
Yeah, that
Distance
stuff ended up
between the
being.
tires. Maybe they can take rubber
Yeah,
samples.
but you took pictures of tire samples, and the guy drove 2,500 miles on those tires. Can you match them up maybe from the width and maybe you can, but it's not conclusive at that point. That's what I'm saying. I don't see anything at this point that's conclusive. It's speculative. The police are saying that that's what it means. But in all fairness, like I did with you last night, if you take Koberger as an individual and just look at him as a person, knowing what we know, there's nothing in his makeup. And actually, there's things in his makeup that say,
At least, like I said, at least people are consistent. Sarge said the same stuff today that he's saying on this live. You know what I mean? So at least people are consistent with what their belief is. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's awesome to hear that people don't really change that much or their thoughts because he's saying the same thing. I basically say the same thing. Jeff said the same thing. Jeff talking about skid marks. Maybe the skid marks in front of the house will help investigators. Distance between the tires. Maybe they can take rubber samples. Possibly.
just he wouldn't be genocidal because he
Right.
was a heroin addict, a drug addict, which I had pointed out last night is the act of suicide.
Yes.
And suicide people may in fact shoot or do things to get their drugs or okay, that I understand. But suicidal people generally don't become genocidal people. Right? That they're just if they were genocidal, they probably wouldn't be addicts and doing the things addicts do. How many people are addicts that become serial killers? I don't know. I personally don't remember that being a big part of the narrative.
You're right. You're right on all that. And talking
Right.
about substance abuse, I mean, that's my specialty. I'm curious to find out if he truly did relapse. Maybe those were the 12 times that he was over there. Maybe he was scoring from somewhere. Because what better way to get some good drugs than to go to the campus? You're going to get good shit,
Right.
I mean, I'm curious to know when the trial comes if he relapsed, if he truly did relapse,
And that would be then you would have some over 5-month period he was found driving that a similar route at similar time.
Yes.
So
I
if
mean, would
there
that
is a
make-
drug issue here, if there's a drug issue,
Okay, so my question is, if you see a vehicle, so they canvassed that whole area. So if you notice this vehicle going 12 times and you canvass this area and you're looking at the camera footage, if they do have camera footage that far back saved in the cloud, you're going to notice this individual driving this route as we're talking about. We were talking about the car going the wrong way or the wrong way at the right time or something like that. The right time, the wrong way, something. It's confusing, but I believe that they caught the car on Ridge Road going the direction of the 1122 house, which is less than 3 miles away from that camera. What they're trying to say is he's heading out of Moscow at 3:45. So when he's caught on a camera heading that way, that can't be his car because his car is going the wrong way away from the house rather than going toward the house on one of the times that he was caught on camera. But I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all.
you hear that will be an explanation. We'll find out when we find out, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
Because that could be very feasible. Look, I relapsed. I was going through a bad time, didn't know nobody, antisocial as fuck, except for the people I chose to talk to.
Wow.
I got turned on to some good shit. I couldn't stop it.
Right.
I've been over there. Hey, he did say the shopping is better in Moscow. Did he mean?
After this live right here, I probably had I think I probably had like 25 people. After this live, I lost like 7 people because of my language and what I was saying. And I was like, whoa, I need to chill.
Here I go. Did he mean that the drugs are better in Moscow? I mean, you never know how people slang is these days. You know what I mean? That could be a code, but it could not be a code. It could be nothing that the fucking Dairy Queen served a better burger than they do in Pullman. You know, it's really obsolete, right?
Yeah. And when it comes to that report from an analyst dated 3/21/23, she's relating to a video that would be connected to the crime, the date of the crime, the time of the crime. So when she says that it was heading the wrong way at the wrong time on Ridge Road, she means the night of the crime. There's no other way to understand that. And the fact the report was finally given to her 3/21/23.
But since then, we've seen pictures of the car heading toward the 1122 house. So how can that be true if the car was caught on Ridge Road heading toward the 1122 house? That doesn't hold water. It doesn't. Tell me
Right?
what you think.
Or that was months after the initial crime.
Yes.
So
Pretty
it
much,
is what I've
pretty
said
much.
it is the whole time. That explains itself. I don't know why that needs to be deciphered. What needs to be deciphered there?
Because it doesn't
The
make
fact
sense.
that he was going the wrong way.
I don't know what. No, but to me, this is a fact that is actually supportive of Koberger in that
Right. So is that
stating-
something? Is that something the defense is trying to use as a counter argument that this could not have been him because he was going the wrong way?
Of course it is. Of course it is. They're saying that the car that the FBI analyst identified, he relied on a photograph, a video from Ridge Road. Okay. The crime didn't happen on Ridge Road. It happened on Queen Road.
Right.
Okay. So sure, that would be an argument that it's not my guy. You got the
But
wrong
he's
guy.
still going toward the
You
house.
identified
right?
a car in that area. Now, like I
Still
said
going
before,
toward
even if Koberger decides to admit that was him driving,
Jesus, that still footage that we've seen in the documents as of recently, that car was heading toward 1122 King Road. It was not heading east, it was heading west toward King Road. So that car was not going the wrong way at the wrong time or whatever you're trying to say. It is not. I could be wrong, and I'm open to being wrong, but right now I don't feel that I'm wrong. What do y'all think, chat?
how does that hurt him? It establishes an alibi that I was driving around, and again, the police proved that because they identified me at the wrong time at the wrong road.
I believe if they're going to tear down this alibi, they're going to say, well, what kept you, how do you know this area so well? If your phone was off, have you been here 11 other times? How do you know this area so well? What were you doing at this time just driving
He doesn't
around?
have to answer those questions. He's innocent.
He doesn't have to?
No, he's innocent until proven guilty. He's under no
Well,
obligation
I'm
to explain
saying once he
himself.
goes to trial. Once he goes to trial.
No, even at trial, he doesn't need to explain himself. He doesn't need to get up there and tell you people what he was doing those 12 separate things. None of your business. This is America, man.
Okay.
That's the right to the right to the accused does not have to testify.
Well,
and
I'm
you're not
saying,
just
I
for the
haven't
just
reached
for
that- Hey, I haven't reached that part of the
Oh,
court
okay. Yeah, and
process.
I'm not.
my
I'm a
criminal
little
justice
intense, so
code.
I gotta calm down a little.
I was
But that-
just
but-
asking. I didn't know if he would be asked like that or how they would ask that question.
No, here's how this will get understood. Ann Taylor will question the cast. She'll question the video analysis. She'll question the FBI automobile expert. And she'll establish that those facts do not place Brian Koberger at the scene of the crime. Their own facts will be the facts she uses to shoot down Brian Koberger's guilt.
Okay, so was this his alibi, his first alibi that he was out driving around? And then he added to that alibi that he was south of Pullman driving at Wowawai Park stargazing? Is that what they were putting together? Because I'm kind of confused as why we're going round and round about this. I think this was the initial alibi, and it didn't make sense to me because the car was obviously in the neighborhood. What does it matter if it's going the wrong way at the wrong time? The car can go around the block and hit that circle and be on Taylor Avenue in no time. I mean, that's the point I was trying to get across to him. And why am I yelling? Jesus.
That's what I'm pointing out.
Okay.
And that was
See,
one
I
of the
can dig.
things.
I can dig that. I don't know everything. You know what I'm saying? I
Right.
don't. I'm pretty certain that I've seen when they ask questions, it's open ended where there's only one answer.
Right.
They're trying to show the consistency of your testimony versus there's holes in your testimony. Well,
See, I
tell
want to
me
say,
about these holes. Tell me about these
can
times.
I
Or
see what Jeff H just said?
what do you say?
No, just this. Just read that quick, and then I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay, it says, I'm cool with BK enjoying driving around, but what about when he stopped driving for 13 minutes, right around the time of Xana's last sign of life?
Okay,
The
here's a
13
question I have for you.
minutes.
Wait.
Okay.
Other than Jeff saying that, where have you seen that factually placed for us to know that it's true? Where has it shown us that he stopped for 13 minutes? We know that he was not caught on his cell phone for more than 2 hours, or at least 2 hours from before the crime and after the crime. There was no cell phone connection between him and the network. We also know that there were no pictures of him, okay, until after the crime of his car. So in other words, Mr. Kohlberger was untrackable during this period of time. So where does Jeff come up with this idea that he has proof that Kohlberger parked for 13 minutes and that particular parking time that he did was at the time of Xana's last sign of life? That's a BS statement. There's no evidence to support that. That's Jeff saying it.
I don't know if
No, there's no document to say that.
That isn't the 13 minutes that you've spoke of whenever his phone comes on at Blaine.
No,
No, that's not
his
what.
phone goes on from 2:47 a.m. to 4:48 a.m. Okay. There is no statement in any document that's ever been placed in the news or anywhere that says Kohlberger was tracked with it being parked for 13 minutes. There's nothing saying that they have a parked vehicle for 13 minutes. There's nothing saying they have a phone that was off for 13 minutes and came back on. That whole statement is made up by Jeff. Where?
See, this is wrong, Sarge, because they have camera footage that shows the timestamps around Linda Lane. So how can you say that vehicle wasn't parked? It stopped moving at 4:07. It doesn't pick back up until 4:21 to 4:23. So that car was not moving somewhere. It was parked. So whether it was parked at the house, whether it was parked at Queen Road, wherever that car was, it didn't move for that amount of time. So that, I believe, is what Jeff was trying to say.
He comes up with that, I don't know, but I do know there
Well,
is.
Jeff, can you answer that in the chat as little as you can with the? Let's see. It says the light bulb camera sees all that come into that dead end cul-de-sac of a neighborhood and all that leave, and how long they stay. 13 minutes, in my opinion.
Right, and then
where are you getting the 13 minutes? I think is what he's asking.
Claiming that the car in that neighborhood is Kohlberger's car. So his unwillingness to accept what the police told us as fact, he's conflated that to mean that was Kohlberger's car, not just an 11 to 13 Elantra, and that car stopped for 13 minutes, and that proves Kohlberger stopped for 13 minutes. So his opinion
is this during the last part of the crime, or is it during the crime? Is he saying the 13 minutes?
I mean, that car did stop. I'm not gonna sit here and listen to that car did not stop. It's kind of like that same argument where people say, well, that's not a continuous camera stream. So if the car is white right here at this camera, and then 3 minutes later, another camera catches a white car going the same direction, that is the same car. You can argue that until the sky turns purple. Your argument has no valor. It has no basis. Especially if the car is has the same identification factors on the car. Shark fin, deep root, cut, whatever, reflectors. I mean, they're very good at what they do. They don't just sit and look at a camera from overhead. I'm sure these camera images were side, maybe front, maybe back, maybe other, coming this way. No, that car was there, Sarge.
Minutes is the 13 minutes it took to commit the crime? Is that what you're
What
saying?
he's saying is those 13 minutes are the 13 minutes in the Linda Lane video. That the Elantra in the Linda Lane video is Brian Kohlberger, and that 13-minute time period is the time that car was there. That's what he's saying.
Yeah.
That's how he's coming to this conclusion. So his difference of opinion on as to whether the Kohlberger's car was on that street or not. That's where the difference of opinion comes in.
This is the episode where Sarge and Jeff H's friendship is forever changed.
Right, and I like how you worded that. Difference of opinion. I like that.
Right.
We all we do have difference of opinions. We see the car drive by Linda Lane camera
Yeah.
at 07:30, and
We see
hear
a car.
leave,
We
and
see
we
a
hear
car.
a car leave like a bank robber at 4:21:19.
Right.
Xana's last sign of life is
I was
4:12.
having fun
So,
at this
can I just show you something real
for
quick?
reals.
Can I just
Sure.
show you? Look,
Sure.
take that information and then go back to Ann's talk about Ridge Road. Ann Taylor and nobody has said that they identified Kohlberger's car on Ridge Road. The police have never said that, or I'm sorry, the police have never said they identified Brian Kohlberger's car on Linda Lane or Queen Road. They've never said that. Nobody has said that, except they imply it in that PCA. They claim that that's Kohlberger's car, but there's nothing that identified Kohlberger's car except for the images on Ridge Road. That's why.
Okay, so it's in the PCA, so it has been stated that that is his vehicle on Ridge Road. So you saying that nobody's ever said that? It's in the PCA. So it has been stated. It has been said.
I'm saying what Jeff keeps sticking on is that being Kohlberger. It can't be Kohlberger because none of the information given shows it to be Kohlberger. It contradicts it. The police's own paperwork contradicts that. Their own video, if that Linda Lane video is right, that get a clue is absolutely correct in his assessment of what those vehicles are.
Well, I wouldn't defend or, go the other way against Ann. I would just say, though, in court, you are subject to perjury if you lie, if you embellish evidence or whatever. I mean, I would think that you would be charged with contempt.
And I just
something.
say this is kind of why I kind of butt heads with this guy. He's always got to be like Ann's words gospel, I guess. No, it's not Ann's words are gospel. Ann's words are the only available facts, and until they're contradicted, you have to accept them as that. Right? That's exactly what they did when they wrote up the warrant for the guy. The judge accepted them as facts. They threw his ass in jail. Right? Now we have to determine if the facts are accurate. My point is, when all you have is information, 1, 2, 3, you have to accept it at face value. Right?
Right.
That's all you got. Does that mean it's never going to change? No. Does that mean that you're
But you're not willing to accept a PCA. Nobody was willing to accept a PCA at that point. Everybody was saying that the PCA was fabricated. There were people calling it shit paper. There was all kinds of names for that PCA. They were saying that was a fantasy. It wasn't real. It was made up. There was too much information, this, that, and the other. Nobody wanted to listen to the PCA. But that PCA had a lot of interesting information that did place that individual in the places where they stated he was. And whether people believe that or not, I mean, even to this day, people are still on that. PCA is irrelevant. Okay. Because we're going to trial at this point. I mean, we're not, you're not arresting him for the first time. You're not getting search warrants. You're not getting none of that. Of course it's irrelevant. We don't need it at this point, but it's still going to be referenced to an extent. This was an awesome. I loved it. I mean, I was like, okay, this is drama, but it's cool.
interpretation of the fact can't be wrong? No. But it doesn't mean you need to throw that nonsense out like Ann's some kind of God in our eyes. That's got nothing to do with it. It's like a side chat slander that shouldn't even be spoken.
Well, that's a good question, Jeff. I mean, I like how you worded that. You said you still don't understand what is meant by going the wrong way on Ridge Road. What do you mean by that? Well, I guess they were, if I was going to speculate, that they were meaning that the Elantra that was there during that time of the crime wouldn't have been going that direction. It would have been the other direction that they saw on the camera or wherever. I could be wrong. I mean, I'm no expert.
Well, I suspect they're saying that there's a 14 to 16 Elantra whether Brian's in it or not, heading away from the crime scene. And that just can't be. Right? In other words,
Well, I mean,
if that
Was
car's
this
doing that,
placed,
it can't
was
be the
this
one
placed
Queen
in the
Road.
PC, was this placed in the PCA? I can't remember. It's getting late on my
No,
brain.
I'm sorry. This was a motion she filed. This is a motion.
Oh, okay. Okay. So this is what y'all are talking about. All right.
Yeah.
I'm trying to
that's
understand. It's like, okay, well, I've heard this before, but I can't remember where I heard it. You know, going the wrong way on Ridge Road,
at
that
the
would
wrong
mean
time.
that car is going the wrong way to implicate it in the crime.
Right.
But even if it's going the wrong way at a particular time, okay, this is how I understood it. And I could be totally ass wrong right here. But I understood it that based on the Linda Lane camera and the 1112 camera, the white car was seen at specific timestamps, okay? The car that they saw on Ridge Road would have been going the wrong direction and couldn't have been seen on either one of those cameras in that allotted amount of time. But we've seen that that's not true. We've seen that that's not true. We have seen photos of that car heading to 1122 King Road, less than 3 miles away. I mean, this was late at night, and we were. I've done a lot of lives with Sarge early on.
I mean, if it was going the other direction during that time, well, hell, he's heading to the crime scene. I would
Possibly, but if
Yeah.
it's the wrong way at the wrong time, what if it's at 4:08 a.m. and they're saying the Elantra parked at 4:07 and 30 seconds, right? So if it's going the wrong way at the wrong time, that implies that it wasn't in that neighborhood during the time of that crime.
Well,
Well, because
like I said, Jeff, is that a one-way street though? Is Ridge Road one way or is it a
No,
two-way
no,
street?
it's a neighborhood street.
Well, I know it is, but is it one way?
No, it's both ways. It goes in north. It goes in both directions.
Okay, then we
Look
get
at the
up.
camera that's
We
supposedly
finally
caught him
get. We
coming
finally
up
get on
the
the
Linda right
street.
here.
Going the wrong way at the wrong time.
Okay. So
Okay.
if this is the house that caught him going the wrong way at the wrong time, so he's rounding this turn right here, and it goes back to Walenta. So this Ridge Road isn't very long.
No, it's just a brief pause of a road.
You see that? Here's
Yeah.
the turn. Here's the turn right here, and then it goes into Ridge Road.
And then
And I
switches
guess
right back
this is
to
the
one.
house that determines that because it's off from the rest of the houses, and
Could
then
be.
goes back to Walenta.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So what I'm saying is they identified a 14 to 16 Elantra on that road at the wrong time. And what I'm also saying is when they identified the 11 to 13 and put out a bolo for their assistance, right? That they actually did identify the correct vehicle on Queen Road. There are two different car identifications here. Both of them are accurate. And this is
So
why
at that time of night, they
Yeah.
picked up his vehicle right here, going the
Yep.
wrong way, which would have
the
been
wrong
this way,
time. Yep.
at the wrong time. So were the murders going on during that time?
It may in fact be.
Is that what they're saying?
No, we don't know exactly what she's saying, but there's not too
Okay.
many ways that it could go. Right?
Okay.
Why even bring that up unless it had some relevance to the crime? And the crime's biggest relevance, so
I
we
did
can
ask
agree.
you
We can
where the
agree on these
cri-
2 points.
Oh my gosh! Hold
It's
on.
the electronics.
Hold on a second. I just asked that time. So if the crimes were going on that time and he was heading east, then that would explain the car being the wrong way at the wrong time. If he's heading west and the crimes weren't even started yet, then he would definitely in the right path to get to the house. That's what I was trying to explain to him, but he wasn't seeing it.
And the time. Those are the key elements of the crime. And your elements of that crime, if they're found to be inaccurate, then provide reasonable doubt that the accused was not involved.
Hey, Nina.
If his car was here at 4:15, then you cannot conclude he's guilty because the police allege the crime and the vehicle that was there drove away at 4:20.
Yeah.
This is what she's building, you see? That's why I said from the beginning, why I got involved was for every accusation the police have made, they've provided an explanation of reasonable doubt in everything they did.
That makes sense. I mean,
I don't think they did it.
I'm pretty sure that let's say that for just conversation value, okay? Let's say they say he's driving the wrong way at the wrong time.
Right.
The wrong time would have been, let's say he left his house at 3:32, or 2:40 something, right? He got to Moscow supposedly around 3 o'clock. He drove around for
Then he
30
turned his
minutes.
phone off at 2:57 or 2:52 a.m. and it stayed off until 4:47 or 4:48 a.m.
Okay, so in your opinion, and Jeff, you can type this too if you want, and Sabrina, in your opinion, what time would the time frame would have been that they caught him here going the wrong way? If we're just, for the sake of discussion, what time would you say that would have been?
Yeah.
I'm curious. I just want to know.
No, he says he needs more info.
Not to say anybody's wrong or anybody's right. I just want, for the sake of discussion, what time do you think this wrong time was? No, just give me a time. If you can, if he got to Moscow, it takes about what, 7 to 8 minutes to get to
No,
Moscow huh?
He won't entertain things out of his belief. He believes what he sees, and that's fine. But it's hard to have a discussion because they see it one way, and no matter what you show that could contradict that way, they'll never change their mind.
Well, I'm
That's
not
the
trying
problem
to
with believing.
contradict. I'm not trying to contradict. I just want to know what people's perception is of that
I know
statement.
what you're doing. I know.
Wrong time, wrong way. So I'm trying to build something here. Okay. Supposedly it takes what, 8 minutes to get to Moscow from Pullman? He supposedly went next to the police station, went all the way around. So let's say he left his house, what, 2:45, 2:30 something?
Right, but what are you trying to sort out? When he would have went by here?
Yes. What time was the wrong time that he went by here? Was it after the crime? Was it before the crime?
Or during the crime?
Or during the crime?
Right. And it may not even have had to been during the crime. You may have saw him at 4:06 a.m. And you can make the argument that the car that you guys are talking about parked at 4:07. It's not likely that he was able to turn around and go back there that quick. Or it could have been 4:09. So my point is, any time in connection with their actual written in stone timeline is a problem for the prosecution. Is that what she's referring to? I suspect so, but I have no way to prove.
I've heard this more lately than any other time. People are wanting to tear apart that timeline. And that's been their biggest fight the whole time. It's the timeline and the vehicle. And this was a big fight too, because it collaborated with an alibi that he was out riding around. So if he was out riding around, supposedly those number of times, what was he doing circling, like Southwest Firefly said, what was he doing circling the Queen Road apartment that many times? And ultimately parked and then sped out of there at 421 at a high rate of speed. So if that camera caught him on Ridge Road at 418, heading either direction, then that car would have been there at the wrong time, the wrong way, because the crime was happening at that point. But if they caught him heading the direction out of town on one of those passes, which he started at 3:30, if he was heading out of town on one of those passes, the only way that's the wrong way at the wrong time if they moved the timeline from 3 to 4, not 4 to 423. Does that make sense, guys? And I think that's the argument we were both having We just couldn't get it right that night for some reason. Do y'all believe that the timeline is correct, or do you believe people's interpretation that the timeline is still wrong?
Prove it at this point. But it's a senseless fact to bring up unless it has a bearing on the case at hand. And lawyers never ask questions they don't have answers to. Just be aware of that. Any
Well, that's
decent
what-
lawyer.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking this question is, just to show, because it is relative. It is relative because they said the car was heading the wrong way at the wrong time. So if you're using your intellect, the wrong time could be either before the crime, during the crime, or after the crime. Based on the proximity of the house,
Mhm.
would he have been there? We don't know this, but would he have been there in enough time to be going this direction after the crime was committed? Wow, Gage is talking about proximity, 3.1 miles away. During the crime was committed. Did they catch him on that camera? Let's say they caught him on that camera at 3:35. Okay?
Well, that's
Would
way
that
up
been
front, right?
Huh?
That's way before the crime.
Right, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
It would be meaningless
So
to
would
even
that
point it
be
out.
that would be for the defense to say, well, look, our client was here at 3:35 heading the wrong way.
Yeah, but that would be a meaningless point. I don't know that that would help you because there's 35. You still got 25. So you got a half hour and 2 minutes to be able to get back to that house. See, here's what I want to say about and she's a decent lawyer. No lawyer will ask a question they don't know the answer to. They will not put a witness on the stand and ask them a random question. They just won't do it.
Exactly.
And when they file for documents, okay, and they're trying to build a case, you can kind of read what they're doing by what they're asking for and how they're asking for it. So you could actually, before the case ever goes to trial, have an understanding of the perspective of the defense's strategy, what they're going to do, what they're going to try to argue. And you can decipher that from their motions, right? That's your only window in there. And you generally can come up with a really good concept of what their argument is. That's how I've come to where I say the argument will be their own work is going to be turned against them by hand.
We're seeing the sheets from, and then Jeff
You would
comes
be
on
hurting
the
your
panel.
client by bringing this up. You're just letting the public know there's more police footage of this guy in the neighborhood.
And you're
The fact is, there's a photograph. The information that we can confirm is the photograph shows a 14 to 16 Elantra going the wrong way at the wrong time.
Where's this photograph
Okay,
you're talking about? What do you mean?
Let me finish.
okay.
That's
y'all.
the only facts
Sorry.
we have. Whether they're right or wrong will be determined. But taking them as the only facts we have and addressing them for only what they're worth, they do say something. All by themselves. I don't need to add U-turns. I don't need to add parachutes. I don't need to add ladders. Okay.
The PCA
I
is
just
less
need-
factual than Ann's words, is what you're saying. Ann's
No.
words are factual. PCA words are less
It's
factual.
got nothing to
Can
do
be
with Ann
questioned.
Taylor. It's got nothing to do
That's
with Ann
but
Taylor.
that's her phrase that he was going the wrong direction at
But
the
you gotta-
wrong time.
Your problem is with Ann Taylor. I'm looking at the facts. I don't care who gave them to me.
You're calling it facts because I'm
That's
saying
all
it
we
came
got.
from Ann Taylor. It came from Ann Taylor. She said the knife sheath was placed.
She
Come
didn't
on.
say
That
Her
that
assistant
Okay,
said that.
okay, guys.
know.
Okay.
okay, sorry.
This is what I want you to understand. Y'all are both saying the same thing, basically at a different variable. You're saying that he could have made a U-turn. Well, if he made a U-turn, he would have been seen on camera making the U-turn. That's a great point, PKC. The only way I could see a problem is the Ridge Road camera caught him between 410 and 420. And that's what I was trying to get them to see. And Sarge wasn't having it. Him and Jeff were talking about this photo, but it gets better. It gets better. There was only
Maybe
one
not.
license.
No, maybe not. Maybe not. I don't discredit his statement, but it isn't part of the discussion because we don't have evidence of a U-turn.
Well, of course. Well, I'm just discussing it just to discuss. Okay. So
Well,
if he makes the U-turn, then he didn't have the front license plate. He would have the back license plate. So therefore, they would have seen the back license plate. Is that another part?
not
of the
necessarily
evidence?
though. It's hard to
that
see
not-
license plate on night vision cameras. Once they go into night mode, the license
But-
plates glow like they're nuclear.
See, here's where I jump ship is that there's no reason to have a discussion about a U-turn because there's nobody has brought up a U-turn except us. It's come up in here.
Okay, well, forget the U-turn. He's going the wrong speed. What if they said that? How do you determine that? Maybe that's the speed he chose to go.
They did not say that, did they?
But why? It's the same kind of phrase, isn't it? It's without detail.
Well, let's stick to the phrase that was spoken.
I know. I mean,
car-
no,
There's
the
no
car
detail.
Okay, but the car was going the wrong way at the wrong time.
Their
Let's
opinion.
just stick- Well, let's just stick to what those words mean. The wrong way at the wrong time. She's trying to defend this client, and I understand people have their definitions of whether he's guilty or whether he's not. We did a video on that, Jeff. Remember?
Yeah, yeah.
And it doesn't matter what people think, whether he's guilty or whether he's not. If you stick to the facts, we just stick to the facts. He was going the wrong way at the wrong time. So if he was going the wrong way, there's no way he could have committed this crime because it was the wrong time.
I don't understand what the phrase means completely, so I can't say that, to be honest.
Well, I mean,
No,
that's
you're just
my,
What do
saying that.
what do you mean?
my interpretation.
What do you mean by
Jeff
frozen stock
understands
phase?
that.
What
Jeff-
do you mean by going the wrong way at the wrong
Let
time?
me
What does that
finish.
mean?
Jeff understands us explicitly. This guy understands
No,
everything.
it is bullshit. Sorry, and I
The
don't cuss.
microscopic, and yet he decides to play this game with people.
Yeah,
This
this is
is
you
his
sound like
game,
so many
bro.
other YouTubers, Sergeant. They say, yeah, let's
I
throw
don't
him
care
under the
what you
bus.
say, I
His
sound like
opinion,
you
he must be
can-
FBI or
you
something.
can say
No.
whatever you want, Jeff. You can say whatever. Go back with your buddy John. But
This
here's
is
the
just
deal.
what I'm saying
You
because this
know-
is what I believe,
you know
and you can.
exactly what those three words mean. No
Okay,
different than if I were to
guys,
share
okay,
it
No,
with
I
a
don't.
12-year-old.
I
Hey,
don't,
guys,
Sarge.
we're gonna stick to the
Yeah,
facts.
because I prefer not to talk to this jerk off. I really don't.
Well,
He is a total jerk off in the way he does that. He plays this game that he
No,
don't understand.
I have an
He's
opinion you don't agree with, and you
then
hate
he'll
me
go
for
on
it.
to
What's the
explain
problem?
to you that he'll explain to you the intricacies of a rocket orbit and then pretend he doesn't know what three words look like. Jeff, get the hell out.
All right, Ann Taylor's.
Okay, I'm gonna mute both of you for a second. Let you catch your breath. Because the reason that I brought Jeff up was to hear his discussion, whether we agree with it, whether we don't. It just disruptive when we're going back and forth, and especially when we start calling names and things of that nature. But just kind of stick to what we're going with. For the sake of conversation, Jeff, if you don't understand it or if that's really your reality, we'll go with your reality. But at the same time, you have to be open to accept other people's opinions if they contradict with yours. You know that. So I will unmute you guys, but y'all can't talk over each other. Y'all have to listen to one another, even if you don't agree. We're all adults here. We're going to get to a common ground, which is whether we can see somebody else's side or whether we can't. It's legal jargon. So a lot of times when they put stuff like this in there, it's placed in that paperwork so that it causes confusion like this. One person might say, yeah, wrong time, wrong way. Okay, another person will say, well, what the hell does that mean? Does that mean that the individual was, is that your opinion that they were going the wrong way at the wrong time? Or is there supporting evidence that you have that we haven't been shown to support your statement? So let's try to be respectful. Let's not name call whoever. I got you both on my panel tonight. It doesn't matter to me where you've been, what your previous exposures to other panels. It doesn't matter. Both of you are very intellectual in my eyes, so I know that I can conversate with both of you by yourselves. So we should be able to be smart enough to conversate together. We all have that capability. So I'm unmuting you. Can I get a yes or a no?
I agree with you.
12
gauge.
gauge, the diplomat.
Yeah,
so-
I can give softer answers that turn away wrath, as the good book says.
Listen, I have no interest in having the discussion. Let him speak, and when he's done, he's done.
Okay.
I've seen this before too.
Well, regardless, let's
Well, actually, 12 gauge. Why don't you explain it to me as you understand it? Because it's not, it can be me, might be me, or it might be the one who's trying to explain it and doesn't want to hear it through the ears of the person they're talking to. They're just like, I said it. You should understand it. Get out of here. kid, you bother me, you know. So
Well,
but if you can,
Sarge and I have had a conversation. We had a conversation yesterday, and both of us have a similar
Like I said, this is the conversation that broke their friendship.
perception on evidence, the way you and I have. So if you see it and it's told to you, then there's no interpretation for another avenue unless you create it. So if I tell you, Jeff, look, I saw you heading down, I don't know, a road in your county or whatever, but let's say I saw you heading down on 13 at the wrong time of day. So there's no way that you could have been involved with that traffic accident that happened 2 blocks over.
because it's impossible to get to travel the distance in the time to be there. Is that what you mean?
No, the fact that your car was not on that road to be having that accident because you were heading in a different direction at the wrong time frame, meaning that that accident happened either during the time you were on that road, after the time you were on that road, or before the accident happened. There were 3 variations of you being at the wrong place at the wrong time. That's basically what she's saying. You're at the wrong place at the wrong time. There's no fucking way that
Whoa!
you being on this road could have been the reason that this accident happened.
Well, I guess I would wonder. This is an FBI analyst video that she's claiming that the FBI analyst used this video to come to a different conclusion, I imagine, than what Ann Taylor has come to by saying you're going the wrong direction at the wrong time. Would the FBI analyst agree with that?
No, that you're misinterpreting the FBI's work. The FBI identified that vehicle, and that's all they did. They didn't do anything more than give an identification. And what she is saying is the video the FBI relied upon to identify the 2014 to 2016 Elantra is from Ridge Road of a car going the wrong way at the wrong time. She isn't saying anything about them confirming it was Koberger or nothing. She's just pointing out that they relied on a photograph of Ridge Road. That particular photograph had nothing to do with the crime.
So let's reset.
So they saw a car. They saw a 14 to 16 Elantra,
right,
going the wrong way at the wrong time. So we've in the PCA it says what 407 to 417, 421, somewhere around there. Are we all in agreement with that?
Yeah.
Okay. So to say that they saw this Elantra either during the crime or after the crime, I would be more based to think that would be during or after. It wouldn't be before. It would be during or after the crime. Then this car there's no way that this car can be involved because it was going the wrong way during the time that these murders took place. No.
How about, can I read that sentence? Can I read that sentence from Ann?
Sure, go ahead.
A report from an analyst for the FBI dated 3/21/23 shows the analyst heavily relying on a video of a car heading in the wrong direction and at the wrong time on Ridge Road.
Right.
Okay, so based on what I just said, either during or after the crime, this is my perception that this car is going the wrong way at the wrong time. There's no way that this car, 14 to 16 Elantra, could be the car that they've identified was seen on the Queen Road camera.
Now, is there elsewhere in the comment from Ann?
But we have seen since then that this car was indeed caught heading west on that Ridge Road camera before the murders. 3.1 miles from the crime scene, heading west. So therefore, when they captured that vehicle, it was heading toward the crime scene. Now, if I were the defense, I would say, see, it's heading the wrong way at the wrong time. Because the murders aren't even happening yet, and it's heading, I don't know, wherever the hell they want it to mean. I mean, wherever they want that car to be heading, they could say whatever. I mean, I could be totally ass wrong on this, but that's my perception as what I've said in this video and what I've said earlier.
Does it say
I'm not
this
going
is
on any of that. I'm going
but
based
this
on
is
what you just read. Based
right,
on what
right.
you just read, you asked me to give you my interpretation. I'm giving you my interpretation. Based on what you just read, my interpretation is there's no way that this car right here that was seen on Ridge Road heading the wrong way at the wrong time could be placed on Queen Road at the time of whatever it is that they're looking for as
The
a
murder.
time frame. Whether it be the murder, whether it be before the murders, whether it be during the murders or after the murder, this car right here, in so many words, has been excluded
Right.
from the scenario. That's basically what that says. This car's excluded because there's no way that whatever time frame they're discussing, they didn't put whatever, during, before, after, whatever. That's why it's so speculatory. But
It's
to the human,
speculatory too, because she's dancing a fine line on disclosing information that she has a gag order on.
yes,
So
exactly.
when she files these motions, she's got to tap dance a little bit to get around that. So that because nobody's saying anything about Brian Koberger didn't. Where's the media saying he didn't do it? Where's the media saying maybe the police did this wrong, or maybe when all those CSI workers went inside with windbreakers and no protection against contaminating a scene, maybe there's a problem with this collection of CSI. There's nobody saying anything on behalf of Koberger, right? So when this woman files a motion, she's not stupid. She runs the gambit and she crosses the lines there where she can. And when she says that they identified a vehicle going the wrong way at the wrong time, she's saying that the FBI's own work will exonerate my client. That's what I was saying earlier when I keep telling you. When Ann keeps arguing the alibi can only come through more discovery. When Ann said her alibi is going to be based on expert testimony, some of it from the prosecution, she's telling you that their cast, their video, their arguments of him stalking are with their own work provably wrong. That's her argument. It's very simple what she's doing.
So, Jeff, does that make sense a little more, or is it still clear as mud?
Well, I mean, it seems to me that they're just trying to cast doubt on this FBI analyst
Of course.
because it sounds like it's one report. It's a report from an analyst for the
That's all
FBI
you
dated
need.
3/21. Shows the analyst, and here's some very clever, interesting words. Shows the analyst heavily relying on a video, not completely relying on it. Heavily relying on a video of a car headed, in their opinion, in the wrong direction. In their opinion, at the wrong time. That's all up to them as to how they determine what they believe is the wrong time in the wrong direction. I mean, that's a small little neighborhood. You can do a U-turn and go east, and then you can go west within less than minutes.
I understand what you're
There's
saying.
no doubt that you're right on that argument, but what we're pointing out is there is no evidence that happened with this particular car, with this particular analyst, with this particular statement. That's all we're pointing out.
All visual. We're all visual.
Somehow you think that makes us Ann fans, when in fact all we're saying is those are the facts we have available. And if we try to make sense of them, the only sensible reason a defense attorney would bring this car up, because by bringing up another image of his car in that neighborhood will hurt Brian. It won't help him. So why would she bring this up and then make? Come on,
it's a
Jeff.
statement that's going to call into question: do you believe the FBI analyst or do you believe Ann? That's as simple as that.
No, it's going to be. She's going to tell you, believe what you're seeing. The FBI analyst is completely correct. That is a 14 to 16 Elantra. That is Brian in that car. You watch what she claims, because the FBI analyst identifies that car, okay, and relied heavily upon it. If she can establish that was her client in that car and that particular time going the wrong way during the time of the crime, Jeff, it's over.
But look at this.
You're not really following what we're showing you.
You're basically saying almost the same thing. But look at this, Jeff. Here's the house right here. It's not blurred.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the circular driveway. Here's the old Queen or King Road house. So at this time, when this camera caught this car heading the wrong way at the wrong time, that means somewhere else on footage, they have to have had the other Elantra or another car that they feel is the murderer's car, which would have been what, the 13 or the 11 to the 13?
Correct.
No.
So they would have had I'm theorizing here, okay, or
Mhm.
hypothesizing.
No, you're interpreting the facts. You're just interpreting it differently than people have actually looked at them.
Okay, so what I'm saying is this car right here that they saw going the wrong way at the wrong time.
Right.
Supposedly, there's going to be another freaking Elantra going
It parks
over
at
here.
4:07 a.m. 4:07 and 30
it goes
seconds.
right here.
Elantra parks over in that area.
Yeah, the one that you showed, Jeff, the one that you showed on your video. That
Right.
Elantra.
They're going to claim.
I was trying to find that freaking car that they got photographs on Ridge Road camera. You know, where they got the side view, the back view, and you know, all those views. I can't find that document. Does anybody know what that document's called? Or if you have the link to that, please email it to me. But you are understanding what we're talking about here. I mean, we're basically going in circles because if this road is basically one big circle. And it showed at one point that he went up Palouse Drive, I think, or Paradise Creek Road or some shit. And then he went on Taylor, and then he came down King Road, and then he'd leave via Walenta Ridge Road, and that way, and he was going east while he was leaving the residence. Oh my God, that just makes sense. Okay, since he was leaving the residence going east, if they caught the car going west on Ridge Road, then that would mean that the car was going the wrong way in order to get to the house based on a time frame. But was that his vehicle or was that another vehicle? Well, this is confusing, but I mean, it just a light bulb went off because that's how it's always been presented. He'd leave the King Road, the Queen Road right here, head up to Taylor, make a left, go around Walenta, stop at the stop sign, make another left, Ridge Road right here, then to Walenta, and then on down, and then he'd turn off on I don't know if it was Steiner or some damn street over here, and head back to, and it connects to Taylor, and it makes one big circle. What they're saying is if this camera on Ridge Road caught him going west toward the house on Walenta and Ridge Road instead of him being captured this direction, then the car would have been heading the wrong way at the wrong time. Why would he be heading this way toward the house when it's been other captures of the car heading this way? I get it. I get it now. I hope that makes sense to you guys. But it still doesn't mean that it wasn't his car. It could mean it would have been another car, but
With the Ridge Road.
I believe that his car was captured on some cameras that identified him as being in that neighborhood more than once.
That 14 to 16 is Brian Kohlberger, and that I guarantee you the time that they're going to argue that FBI analyst decided that car was at is going to be during the time of the crime.
Well, how do we know though?
And
How do we
supposedly
know
that
though?
car- that
We
car that
don't, but it's the most logical argument with.
No,
the
I didn't finish
information.
my sentence. I didn't finish my
Right.
sentence. How do we know though that they don't have video of the car going east on Walenta, and they know that in order to get back into the Queen Road area takes a certain amount of time, and had he been continuing east, he wouldn't have made it back in time. But if he did a
True.
U-turn right there and then headed west, he would end up back in time.
So if they
But
caught
they're
him
not
at
going to.
4:06 a.m. That gives them a minute.
We
and a
don't know
half
the
to-
time. Why are you saying times when we don't know the times? That because they didn't say the times on Ridge Road. They said just
No,
wrong
But
direction,
they
wrong
said-
time.
Wrong
but they
way,
said the
wrong time.
But they said over here,
You didn't hear my example at all. I don't think.
he did. I believe that your example is this right here. Instead of going this way where they say wrong time, wrong way, he busted a U and came back.
Right, and got there in time to be caught on camera.
But at what time do you speculate he was seen on camera? Right here?
Well, he's
or right
but
here?
I
Would
mean,
you
that's
say-
all speculation because I believe
but
he's seen
go
on
with
camera
an
5 times.
hey, but go with an educated guess. You're a smart man.
It could
Jeff.
be, they could be referring to any one of those 5 times that he's seen in that area.
Okay, so based on what you're saying, if they're saying wrong way, wrong time, then they would have seen him turn around in this, because this is the house with the camera. So this camera,
Well,
would've
we assume it's got a camera only because
Well-
it says video. There's a camera somewhere on Ridge Road. I would
yeah,
imagine.
there's somewhere
on that
Well,
statement.
there's only a couple of houses there that could get the image.
Yeah, but there's only, it starts right here and it ends right here before it
Right.
goes
So it's
to
real short. Yeah.
Valenta. So it's one of these houses that caught this car. If it wasn't
houses,
this one, if it wasn't this one, then it could have been this one. So he could have busted a UE right there.
He could have.
So these are the kind of facts that people get upset about because it's so open to interpretation. It's not even funny. I mean, and we continue on. I think I'll replay the rest of this probably sometime this next week because it has a lot of great information. And if you're watching this for the first time, if you're watching my channel for the first time, check out some of the older videos. And there are a lot of members only videos. Please be a subscriber if you haven't already. You know, hit the like button if you haven't already. Become a member if you haven't already. Go check out some of those older Idaho 4 videos. Somebody was asking this morning about other cases. There are other cases in this library of mine. There are plenty of other cases. This is not the only case I've ever talked about. You know, it is confusing. The wording confusing. Everything at that point was confusing because they were saying that this car was caught by an FBI analyst going the wrong way at the wrong time. We don't know if Brian changed up one of his routes on one of those passes, which could have been something that happened. We don't know that he, unless the cameras identify that white Elantra, all 4 or 5 passes going the same route. Even if it didn't go continuously, they saw that car all 4 times with those 4 timestamps. And if this car was seen going the wrong way on Ridge Road during any of those timestamps, then this car is not the white Elantra, but those other cars are. That's where people are getting that there's 2 cars. People are trying to say that this car drove into the neighborhood and picked him up at 423 and left at a high, or 421 and left at a high rate of speed. But if that's true, what happened to his Elantra? Who drove it out of the neighborhood, and why wasn't that caught on camera? If there's 2 cars that go in and only 1 car leaves, where did the other car go? You can't make up stuff like that without looking at the whole scenario. If it was the lime green car that left, what happened to the white car that entered the place and never left? Where'd that car go? You get what I'm saying? You cannot make statements like that, or you can, but you have to be educated enough to understand that to go into an area where there's only one way in, one way out, but only 1 car leaves, 2 enter. Tell me where that other car went, and I might understand your argument about 2 cars. But until then, just 2 cars doesn't make sense. 2 go in, 1 leaves. Where's the other car? And did they find that car? You're trying to say, you guys, and I said I wasn't going to do this, and I'm not going to do this, but some of the people early on were saying that that car that was found in Eugene, Washington was one of the vehicles, and the other vehicle was Brian's. 2 cars went in, 1 car left. And what'd they do? Come pick up the other car, wrap it in green, and take off with it, unwrap it, wreck it, and leave it for the world to see as a red herring? That's just stretching right there. Just stretching in my eyes. But I could be wrong. But once again, I've enjoyed this. and I just wanted to get on my channel and kind of play some older videos that probably not very many people have seen. Yeah, or green herring. Wanted to play some videos that maybe people haven't seen or heard, because these were very early on videos. They were very early on, and we were having some great discussions. Even if we didn't agree the whole time, like I've always said, we've had some great discussions without, you know, um, without it being to the point where we hate each other. I don't hate anybody that I've had on panel. We disagree. I've actually been on Charges panel probably a couple weeks ago. We had a great discussion. There was no yelling, but no name calling, none of that. Him and I have always had good discussions. It's only, other times that him and I have had issues. And I've discussed that with him, so I'm not talking about anything that I haven't discussed to his face about, some of the situations that I've had. But that's neither here nor there. I've enjoyed all the people that have came up on panel and their understandings. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm glad too that my channel is back up and running. I'm gonna treat it very lightly, and I'm not gonna show a lot of videos that aren't my own. I don't need to at this point. I have a lot of information on my channel that I don't need to show YouTube stuff, honestly. So if you see my videos being circulated out there, please let me know who they are. That way, I can ask them, what's going on, because there's going to be new people coming into the YouTube streets, and, sometimes they don't know the proper etiquette. And I got this from YouTube. You're supposed to get permission from the creator to show their video. If for some reason they don't get your permission and they're just showing your stuff and not really commentating on it, it has to be an educational view of a video. You cannot just show a video and just get angry about it or have your opinion. You're supposed to be educating the people based on that video. Otherwise, it's copyright. And a lot of people can be copyrighted if they don't change their view. Just because they haven't gotten caught doesn't mean that people can't strike them. So be very aware, if you're a creator, that you educate your audience based on what you're showing as far as the video is concerned. Anything else, your opinion on, your anger about the video or your view on it, is really not doing what YouTube's supposed to, want you to do. I got striked once on a short, and the other was on a stupid video that I was trying to make about a comparison between Kohberger and Ridgeway, or the Danny Rowland. So I'm just happy to be back. It was a long 7 days, but if you see anything between now and then, there were just uploads that I've created in the 7 days, so everybody can be present to what I've been doing in the 7 days. Until next time, happy Mother's Day. You guys be safe out there, and I hope to see you around soon. Maestro, how about you cue that music? I'm scared to play anything else, but I'm going to do it. Here we go.